Hello everybody, I'm the Tribox Gamer, welcome back to Minecraft. I almost had a moment of fear because when this video was starting, it showed past footage, and I thought for a moment, just for a moment, that I accidentally re-recorded something, but no. Everything's fine, it's just, it started a little earlier, maybe I accidentally left it in, but no, we're here, we're fine, we're good. I'm good. I'm gonna still talk about D&D stuff because, well, quite frankly, I have nothing much to talk about, and I like talking about this. I don't like how it got slow on me for some reason. That does not get my vibes too well. But last episode, I was talking about a weapon that I really did love. That actually had some. It was still considered broken, but it was less broken than the other weapons that I made. And it was called Surprise Me Arrows that later got redubbed to Surprise Me Bolts because the player who had it didn't have a bow and arrow, she had crossbow. So this brilliant weapon, is my child because I think I'm positive to say that this was the first thing I made. And it probably shows compared to the rest because it actually had some nice rules. So Surprise Me Bolts, as it's now dubbed, was a special case of bolts. See, when you shoot an enemy, and if it hits, the bolt itself explodes in a confetti surprise for them, surprising them and all that are able to hear or see said attack. I think I later changed it to just... No, hear or see feels like it's accurate. Now, when this happens, everyone that sees this has the surprise condition, and as you can see, that does sound pretty broken, but I did make a rule for this where it doesn't get exploited and you can't soft lock it, soft lock enemies. So, they have the surprise condition unless they've already seen the condition. Like, for example, if you have a group of 3 enemies, you shoot the one in the middle and they all seen that, they know what your thing does. The second time you hit them with said bow, they're not going to be surprised when you attack them. It's still a powerful thing because you are giving them the surprise condition, which if you don't know what the surprise condition does, the surprise condition is that you are still in my bed. Get your own bed! Don't me, buddy. Get your own bed. You literally just popped up here for no reason. I don't know why you're here. And you're lucky I'm peaceful, because if I weren't, let's just say that you won't be a problem. But anyway, like I was saying before I had that small little freak out on that dude, that the surprise... Yeah, basically I treated the surprise condition as it just skips their turn. Which, now I'm looking over the rules for surprise. There is a new set that says that enemies have disadvantage on the attack roll, or maybe it doesn't say enemies, it just says if a creature is caught unaware by the start of the combat, that creature is surprised, which causes it to have disadvantage on it. Yeah. That might have been more on brand, but at the time, surprise condition that I knew of said that it just skips their turns, and I think that's more based on players rather than enemies, so I just kind of rolled with it, but the point is, I really love that weapon. That was my favorite weapon, and I am so glad that the player used it as often as she did, because it got used! It was so used! Like, the bolts, okay, if you remember in the last episode, they weren't just bolts that you could just buy off any merchant. You had to win them from this chaotic carny dude that was really a god in disguise, basically, but still, there was quite a bit. She used them enough where it was sparingly used, but at the same time where it wasn't, like, gone in a certain round. Like, I think it was once per encounter because, like, I gave it no reason to be used for after the first encounter. Like, well, the first encounter is when she would have used it, but say that you start the second encounter and use that bow, crossbow, whatever you want, you use those arrows, then the effect still plays out because they haven't seen said effect. Honestly, I think that's probably my favorite weapon that I made. Most likely. Now, there was one more item I added, but it was never seen by the players, and maybe that's a good thing, because it was supposed to be the wish spell. Now, before you say, hey, wait a minute, you're definitely now breaking, you're now being too nice, I would agree with you, but this wish spell was in the form of a monkey paw kind of wish spell. Now, for those that don't know the term monkey paw wish is basically, I don't like how that looks. I don't want to change it. The tree's natural. I like it there. So sorry, I got distracted by that. The monkey paw is usually a term that your wish is granted, but it comes at an unexpected, usually not wanted effect. Like, for example, say that you wish that you had $1 million. Congratulations, you have $1 million, but it's all stolen, and you can't use it. It'd be that kind of thing. You know how in stories where genies mess with people? Like, yeah, they grant them the wish, but it never comes exactly how they... It's kind of like that. I hate it when I do that. I really do hate it when I do that. And I had some plans with it. I had some plans with it. Again, Lorenzo, I had some plans for you that would have been mean. Because Lorenzo's character, he had a dead wife for his background. And if he said, oh, I wish my wife was alive again, congratulations, Lorenzo, your wife is brought back from the dead, but where is she? She's still in her coffin. Stuff like that, just to mess with them. Which I know sounds a little evil, but technically, he didn't say, I wish my wife were alive, and out of her, coffin, so technically he got what he wanted. That also reminds me of the payment that I never really fully explained on that I said Lorenzo would have truly hated. Again, Lorenzo, I wasn't picking on your character specifically. Your character was just a lot easier to mess with. I mean, I think everybody's character had something that they could easily mess with. But yours was just my go-to. Yours was inspiration, so pat yourself on the back. So, if my players, if they wanted to play the game, they had to give up something or barter something that was special to them for the game. If Lorenzo's character bartered something that he had from his late wife, but shown that he didn't really want to give it up, the Carney, he would have said, nah, you keep it. We would come up with a different payment in the future. Here's what I plan what that payment was going to be. See, it would happen late at night, while Lorenzo's character is sleeping. The Carney will enter his dreams, see his memories of his wife, and instead of taking the item that he held so much care for, he would have simply take the memory of his wife as payment. And everyone had something that was similar to that. Like, they would have a special memory that if they refused to give up what they bartered, or they lost what they bartered, then they would have lost a precious memory to them. I know one of the players that had to drop out halfway through, I think, was a paladin, or maybe not a paladin, maybe barbarian. I don't recall what she was, but she lost her village, I believe, something like that. Or maybe she was a monk. Maybe she was a monk. I don't remember whose backstory this is, but basically she lost her village to raiders or something like. It's been a while, but I was gonna have it that she lost all memories of her village, and she wasn't going to know why she's fighting. Like, that was gonna be like, if you mess with the bartering system, that's what was gonna happen. Like, you lose something very special to the character. Did it ever get implemented? No, They won. But, boy, I was really hoping that they would lose or something like that would happen. I was planning to mess with them. I hate it when I lose the chance to mess with them. Even the little rock golem had his own thing that unfortunately got cut due to time. Because I think the name I gave him was Rocky. Now, Rocky was a prize, but he wasn't always a prize. He was something that someone gave up. A future event was going to have that same someone pop in and try to reclaim Rocky. Naturally through violence. It was supposed to be a broken oath paladin that wanted Rocky back and wasn't going to take a no for an answer. However, at this point in the game, Rocky would have already bonded with all the players and would not like Paladin, so it was Rocky's choice to stay with this group, and from there, conflict or whatever would happen. And I say whatever would happen because I always give everyone a chance to resolve it peacefully if there's a good chance. Like, okay, not everybody had that opportunity because the main antagonists, main lackeys that they would have to deal with were not going to be on their side, obviously, but I also showed that, hey, just because you're fighting a bunch of, in this campaign, it was orcs, doesn't mean that every orc you're going to see is going to be with the main bad guys. So there were going to be times where, hey, these orcs that were once fighting with somebody, they give up because they never liked the leadership from this. Or, hey, these other dudes, they're actually just trying to live their life. They're actually trying to be, good people. They don't agree to what they're doing. Or some of them were just a little too stupid to know what was going on, or just a little too nice to know what's going on. So, yeah, with the enemies, I kind of had a variety of, hey, yeah, you're going to be dealing with these guys throughout the campaign, but not all of them are just, hey, beat me up. Some of them will be all like, can't be spared. They can have, like, moments of redemption. Just, like, you gotta look out for the signs. I tried to make it feel organic. I didn't really try to make it sound forced. Like, I really did try to give it my all with that. Not really sure how well I did, but I think I made it at least a little refreshing that, hey, not everybody's gonna be, okay, they're bandits, let's beat them up, There was this one mission that I remember, like, the missions that I plan, depending on the quests that the adventures go to in a certain order, the intros will be different, the outros will be different. It all depended on what order they went through. For example, there was a mission where, hey, this old lady's at this windmill. Can you check in on her, see how she is? Now, in the book, it said that a manticore is outside the windmill attacking the building. I was like, okay, I like that idea. That is a big boss move to fight with the low levels, but I have a better idea. If the players went there for their first mission, which I'll be honest, I kind of nudged them towards because I really wanted the scene to play out. And then after that, I was like, do whatever order you want. If they did this quest first, the intro would be that they just see a normal windmill. They could go up to the door and check on the old lady that lives there, and in doing so, when they see this old lady, she would call out for her kitty, which is the manticore. She would call out for her kitty, and the manticore will crawl from underneath the porch like a big house cat and look at the players, but tamed. The second intro, if they chose this quest to do second, is that there are signs of scratch marks, but none too deep. The lady is missing, and if they were to go around the corner, they would see her near the manticore, which, of course, would trigger a response Obviously they're going to probably attack, which will prompt the lady to tell them, no, that's my kitty. Something like that. Like, I try to come up with the bad endings because, you know, you can't always have the good endings, but the bad endings for this mission kind of made me a little sad because they could have killed the Manticore and made the lady sad. And I was like, oh. But that was an option. The third is kind of like the second. They would get to the windmill, but they would see the Manticore outside scratching at the building. Now, they would probably misinterpret it as the Manticore attacking, but really what the big cat is doing is, like, you know how cats, like, claw at things? It's just doing that to the building. But yeah, that's where I kind of went differently than the book. Was the Manticore was just a big old house cat, friendly to everybody. I thought it was cute. Gave the Manticore the name Precious. Because I thought, what would be a very ironic name for this very dangerous animal? And it's like, Precious. The old lady calling the big beast Precious seems too cute to not include. I had to do it. That was kind of how I ran each quest. Like, on the job board, on the nose board for the group, there will always be like 3 quests available for them. And they would have to choose what they would do first, what would they do second, what would they do third, and in that kind of time frame, like whatever came first usually had the easier intro. Second would always have the medium kind of intro, and then the third one will always have like that difficult intro. But I didn't make the third option just like always a bad ending. Like sometimes the third option would have been better for the group, rather than it just being 1, 2, 3, pick whatever one like would be easy. If you think this one's gonna be easier, if you go for the first, like that kind of thing. So their first recon mission to a different part of the map, where they had to go and check on archaeologists. The first option, they would get there and they see that nobody's in danger, but as soon as they start leaving, they would see that danger's approaching. And that gives them time to warn the archaeologists to basically back out. The second choice, if they choose it to be their second quest, is that when they get there, they run into the bandits that were going towards there, sparking the fight. However, the third one is that the bandits will already be there. The archaeologists would have got kidnapped, but they do have the element of surprise for them. They could take them out stealthily. And this is where the new main bad guy came from, because they didn't take out the big bad bandit dude. So when the actual main bad guy ended up kicking the bucket a little too early, he became the new guy that was supposed to take control of the campaign. What happened with him is that they used Tasha's hideous laughter on him, and it did a permanent effect where he was basically the Joker. Like he always laughs now in a torturous very torturous way, if I remember correctly. He later became like the guy that was so obsessed with collecting a bunch of artifacts to resurrect the dragon so he could control the land. Again, not really a polished villain, but for what I had and panicking, I'd say, yeah, that sounds like a standard D&D villain. Good enough. Hopefully. Again, I just wish that I had time to explain it better, because we were at the end of the session. We were wrapping up. Part of me just thinks I should have just ended it after they defeated the dragon. I felt that probably would have been the better option. But oh well. There was this one player who was a time wizard, and he asked me that since his Time Wizard stuff was, think of the Lucky Feat, and if you don't know the Lucky Feat, basically the Lucky Feat lets you make a reroll. It has like 3 charges. If you don't like your roll, or if it's a bad roll, you just say lucky and you reroll it. At least that's what it was during the time. I don't know if they changed it in the new edition or the new 2024 version, but that was basically what he had as his class. And he ran it by me. He made sure that it was okay. I was like, yeah, okay, that seems fine. That seems fine. I'm not going to be too much of a stickler. So long as I see that there's some concrete rules for you, then we're good. And then he asked, would it be okay if I get the Lucky Feat? What it would do would just double his Time Wizard feat. He was asking me if it was okay. And I said, yeah, you know what? That sounds cool. I'm going to give it to you because this player, he is basically our main DM. I think that if anyone deserves to have a fun time, it should be the guy who always runs the D&D sessions. Like, he deserves to have some fun. So I said, go for it. Now, what I didn't tell him was that I planned enemies for him. I made some more enemies for him. Much like the giant snake boss, I made some more enemies for him specifically because he was a guy messing with time. I figured that some gods might not like that. Would I know the specific name of those gods? No, I would not. But I figured some would not take kindly to a mortal playing with time. Hence, the enemy that I dubbed the Fixers. At least that was the very basic version of the enemy. The basic version was this tiny, not suspecting blob, like translucent blob that you couldn't really see. However, I wasn't going to add it like as a normal encounter, like everyone would be able to fight him. This little encounter would have a different way of triggering. So every time that he used his time ability, which he did quite a bit, like not too much where it was excessive, but just a good amount where it gave me the option to throw these enemies at him. So what it would be is that I would take the number of times that he used his time ability, and I would roll a d12. If it hits 12, or it goes over 12, then these enemies would spawn. After their first encounter, this resets. So, say that, okay, he only used it 5 times, but I rolled like a 7. They spawn, that 5 gets erased, I'm gonna start keeping track after this fight. What would happen is that, in real time for the other players, this player would have a 1,000-yard stare. I would ask him and some other member, like the ones around him, to all roll a d4. If they rolled the same number as him, they're going to go into this weird version of our world where it's kind of like everything looks blue tinted, time's not moving from their perspective, and that's where they would be dealing with the Fixers. Now, the first time this has happened, no one rolled the same number as him, so I kind of had to nerf these guys just a bit, because, mind you, he is a wizard. Wizards are kind of squishy, so you gotta be a little careful with them. So, he rolled a unique number, everyone else, you still take my bed! I hate you. I hate you. Don't me. It's my bed, buddy! Getting back to what I was saying, I don't like that guy. But getting back to what I was saying is that since he was alone on his first, fight with them, on his first encounter, I gave them kind of a little debuff, and I describe it as that you see these translucent beings pop into your world. They step in for a moment before they crash down, as if they can't understand the gravity of this realm. In other words, that they're slowed down, and they basically are just slowed down at that point. So if he needed to, he could easily get away. The thing is, I forgot one little detail, is that he found a necklace of fireball. I believe that's what it was called. He found that, and what he did was he ran all the way to the end of the area, and he used it. These guys did not have many HP. I think I just scared them because how many there were. It was 2 on 1, so I think I just gave him a little fright there. But it did end the fight real quickly. I did have him roll a wisdom save. And the thing with the wisdom save is that if anyone were to be there with him, they would make the same save too at disadvantage. He gets it normal, but everyone else gets it at disadvantage. This save is if they remembered what happened. For other players specifically. For him, he has an inkling of an idea what was going on, but not completely. That way he's still aware of what's going on, but at the same time I was kind of going with like you're messing with time, you're messing with like forces unknown to mortal man that you can't really be messing with. That kind of shtick. Sadly, it only happened like I think maybe 3 times. Like I said, I rolled very low, and I was really hoping that these guys made more of an appearance in the campaign. I did use the final boss with the final version of the Hunters, because there are 3 tiers. You would have the Fixers, which are the lower of the tiers. You have, which I just said, Hunters. That would be the 2nd tier. They'd be more agile, they'd be more tactical. And then you have the Titan, which is a big Colossus-like enemy. Now, how these enemies would have been picked was actually how many party members were going to be with that player. Because if... the exception would be the first encounter. The first encounter would always start with the Fixers. The second encounter, if he rolled with... Now, if he got one other person with him after the first initial encounter with these enemies, then that would introduce the Hunters, because now he has someone to back him up. This also kind of depended if who was brought in with him, because say you have 2 sorcerers, I wouldn't feel right on throwing them to like an agile enemy like that. I just felt like that'd be a little overkill, so it would also kind of always change, like, okay, they're both this, they're not too tanky, I'm just gonna give them like a couple of fixtures just to ease their worry. Now, if 3 of the players rolled with him, then you're gonna have a bunch of these guys, like you're gonna have a mixture of the Fixers and the Hunters, and it'd be kind of like, it depends on who's with who. It would depend. I think I had a random roll just to see how many would be there, just so that it wouldn't be too like grading on keeping track. But then if all the players rolled the same number, which granted, I highly doubt that would have happened, but I kept it there just in case it did. That is when they would fight the Titan. And the intro scene for the Titan would have been like, let them know that this is going to be a big boss battle for them. You see this giant Colossus step through the portal. A couple Fixers are below its feet, but it does not care. It walks forward, stomping on them, destroying them in a puff of shattered glass. It gives off a loud, guttural roar, and that is actually where we're going to be ending the video, so thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Take care. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.